Yes, as you can see, we have got a new backdrop for the podcast as well. Let me know your opinions on it. I actually really like it. Oh, no, that definitely needs to come down.
R4 has been a McShitey for 14 months. 14 fucking months. Let's fucking go. 14 14 14 14 14 14 14 14 14 14 14 14 14 14.
Hey Jim, how's it going, dude?
14 14 14 14 14 14.
Yeah, can't complain. I just seem to be hearing the number 14 quite a lot for some reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, let it play out. Let it play out. I'll wait. I'll just looking at myself sat in the Stars office.
I think
fan of that.
I think we've just about got through it all. Rain, thank you very much for the resub, my friend. I do appreciate it. I fucked up. It was meant to go on longer. I'm not gonna lie, mate. I'm kind of glad it didn't. got a few topics to discuss here. Right. Oh shit! Actually, I'm just gonna need to see.
I sent you the list of the on Discord. You'd have seen it anyway because I've just because you've obviously clicked call me.
I have. What I'm going to try and need to do is see. Right. No. Resizing that window.
You're going to take the background off me and make it look like I'm sat behind Wesker's desk. Is that it? No.
If I had the technical prowess to be able to do that, then believe me, it wouldn't be you sat behind Wesker's desk. Right. So, obviously, as we said, guys, what we're going to do is we are going to give a full review of WrestleMania 39. We're going to go through each match individually, have a bit of a chat about it, give our thoughts on it, whether we thought what happened was the right thing for it to for it to happen. And I've got a feeling that the vast majority of it, I don't know about you, Jim, but I've got a feeling the vast majority of it we're going to agree with. But I'm sure there's a couple we
show was excellent.
Well, you see, that's what I thought. I mean, night one especially. I thought night one was...
Yeah.
I couldn't pick any faults in it if I was paid money to do so. I thought it was absolutely incredible. I thought almost every single match on the night at least served its purpose in some way, shape or form. I really can't pick any faults whatsoever in night one.
Let me look at the list. Yeah. I mean, do you want to start from the top of the card for night one?
Yeah, we can do.
I mean, it opened up Austin Theory, John Cena. I mean, Theory winning that was a dead cert for me. It serves no one any purpose to put the US title belt on Cena. He's, you know what I mean? He's on his way out. He's like, as far as wrestling goes, I think he's doing like one show a year now at the minute, one match a year, and yeah, I can't see him having a title reign. So for Theory, getting the rub off Cena was their way of trying to get Theory over, and I feel like it hasn't worked. He's got everything going for him. You know, he's got the physique, he's got the charisma. There's just something there not quite clicking. So the Austin Theory experiment goes on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with him from here. The match itself, I thought was okay. Like it was a decent curtain raiser. Certainly not the worst that I've ever seen. I mean, we've both seen John Cena put on far better matches than that.
Oh yeah.
But you know, credit to him, as you've just pointed out yourself there, he's active nowhere near as much as what he used to be. He's just simply not the wrestler that he once was. The result, I completely agree with you, should have never have been in question. I think had Cena have gone over, I don't think there'd have been any coming back for Theory. And it's, for me, it's a little bit obvious that WWE want to try and get him over, but especially after, his whole cash in for the US title, which he lost, which made no sense whatsoever. Why anybody would cash in for a mid card belt, I have no idea. But especially to then go on and lose that match, I think if he then loses to Cena at WrestleMania, it would have just buried him beyond repair.
Yeah. It served no purpose, him losing there. The cash-in fiasco, I think they made a mistake giving him the briefcase to begin with, because what they have going on with Roman Reigns is he's just, no one can beat him, and it was just, if he'd cashed in on Roman, it was always going to fail, and I think they just wanted to get rid of that briefcase, and it was just because it was just a failed project. Yeah. So it was just get rid of it any way you can, and and it ended up looking dog shit. But it was never going to come out any other way.
No,
he was never going to win the world title. He was never going to take the belts off Roman Reigns with a cash in. It never happened.
No, definitely not. And I think one of the I saw this on a wrestling podcast video a couple of nights ago. I want to say it was either Wrestle Talk or What Culture, one of the two. And they were talking about when they first brought Theory through to the main card the first time, which I think was for WrestleMania 26, I want to say, the one that was in lockdown, purely because of lack of talent, lack of availability. They brought Theory up to the main card to try and fill a spot, which I don't feel worked, because then obviously he then goes back down to NXT to try and develop further, and then they bring him back up to the mid card. And I think the thing with Theory at the moment is it seems very similar to Drew McIntyre version 1. He's Vince McMahon's hand-picked person that just doesn't seem to be getting over. Whether Theory's going to have to do the same thing and bugger off on the indie scene and really make a name for himself and come back, I don't know. But, I mean, in terms of the match, I thought there's not really too many faults I can pick with it. It could have been a better match. The result was the correct result without any shadow of doubt. I think it teed us up quite well.
I feel they've booked themselves into a bit of a corner and a bit of a predicament, because you've got Roman Reigns, who ain't dropping the belts anytime soon, and when he does, it'll be to Cody Rhodes. You've got Gunther, who is fantastic, absolutely out of this world. He's a powerhouse Intercontinental Champion. So Theory can't go there, because there's no way he's going to, he's going to be stepping up to Gunther. And then where else can he go? They've setting up now this triple threat for Backlash: Bronson Reed, Bobby Lashley, and Theory. And I feel like the belt's going on Bronson Reed, it's going to be him and Lashley going off from there. And I don't know what they're going to do with Theory, but they book themselves into a corner because they need this fresh talent. They need to spice things up and mix things up, and they bring them up, but they don't have a plan for them, and they ended up just getting lost in like the mid-card shuffle. They end up like, they'll stick them in a feud with a Miz, and it'll go nowhere. It'll drag on for 2 months and nothing will happen, and then they'll just disappear. Like, look, Dexter Lumis, prime example. They put him in with the Miz, and it was just this weird. It started off quite cool, and then it just got really weird, and it just lost its legs. And I think they need to have good storylines in place before bringing people up. And I think what they've done with the Bloodline saga, albeit is fantastic, I think they've put all their eggs into that. They've put all the brains into that, and they've not really give a second thought to any other story in the company. Like, there's not really another storyline going on that's interesting
No,
in
no,
that company.
I completely agree with that. It's like everything WWE related the last few months has all been around the bloodline. It's all been about Cody and Roman. It's been about Kevin Owens and Sammy with the Usos, and you're very hard pressed to find another story that they've done. Mainly because I don't think they've actually fucking done any. It seemed like everything else has just been right. You go against him, you go against her.
You've got Rey Mysterio and Dominic with the Judgment Day, and that you've got that story with the LWO coming into it, and that's fine. The only other story I can think of is Otis going and getting lured into the Maximum Male Models. Fantastic, love that. But what else is there? You've got Damage Control. What's nothing really happening with that because Becky's off telly, Lita's off telly, so that's not really going anywhere. And I mean, they've just been shit with the women's division. They've really fucking not give two fucks about them, and it's been a right shame because there's some incredible talent in the ladies division, and they've just put
100%.
They've not invested any time or brain power into a storyline for them, and it must be frustrating for them.
Oh, 100%. And you can say the same about the people in the mid card, the likes of Theory, because I'm sure Theory can. I'd be very surprised if he's not getting really frustrated now. Where does he go from here? Because I mean, there's no clear path, like you say. There's nothing that you could say, right, take the belt off him and throw him into here, or even keep the belt on him and throw him into this. It's, what do you do with him now? It's a very, very difficult one to try and call. And I think you've hit the nail on the head when you say that they've put themselves into a corner with him. They were hoping, I'm sure, that he'd get a far bigger rub from Cena than what he did. Why they thought that, I don't know, because again, Cena's not really been around. He's not the credible threat that he used to be a couple of years ago. Like, if you brought Cena back full time now, and you tried to put him into the main event picture, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody at all. All right, but I certainly don't believe that they would anyway. Me, for one, I'd be thinking, what the fuck are they doing here? However, I could also later on in this episode, I could make myself sound like a bit of a hypocrite with that, but we'll come back to that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've the only thing I could feasibly see them doing with Theory, which I feel like I'd give them the time of day with, and I am nobody in the grand scheme. I'm just a fan, so my opinion doesn't speak volumes for the entire fan base. But if they were going to do anything with Theory, they're going to take the belt off me at Backlash. I 100% back that. They will. Yeah. Chuck him into Judgment Day. Throw him in with them. Get Finn Balor going to him the night after Backlash, the Raw after Backlash, and be like, oh, you've had all this happening. Come, you know what I mean? Come with the boys and that, and we'll look after you. And then it's just another, you know what I mean? It's not another bit of muscle for the Judgment Day, and then that gives them more kind of meat going forward, so to speak. It gives them an extra member. It strengthens their stable. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just talking, but
do you know what? Yeah. I kind of like the idea behind that, because I could picture that working. When I said obviously there's not really been very many stories other than the Usos and the Bloodline, I do for some reason I just really like this whole Judgment Day thing. Like, I think when Edge first started it off, I thought it was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. The whole turning on Edge and booting him out of it and replacing him with Finn Balor, I thought was great. Didn't see it coming. Really didn't. I could picture that working.
Yeah, I just don't want to see Edge fight Judgment Day again, because my God, that went on. That feud went on.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I feel like Rey Mysterio is probably going to take a slight step back now, and I think it's going to be the LWO and Judgment Day feuding for a bit now. But we'll see. I mean, we're going to be here for hours if we talk this in depth over the first match.
Right. Well, match number 1, rating out of 10. What are you giving it?
Out of 10, I'll give it a safe 6.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Solid 6.
It was better than average. It was everything it needed to be. It was a big livener for the crowd. Just the John Cena entrance and his presence alone, you know what I mean, gets the fans going. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for that. It was everything it needed to be.
Yeah. So then that brings us to match number 2, the Fatal 4-Way Men's Tag Team match. I'm going to be honest and say that I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought it was going to be. I sort of looked at that match and I thought, this is just a card filler. It's going to go on for 15 minutes or so, given the amount of people that were involved. There may be 1 or 2 spots. I wasn't really expecting too much for it. To be honest, I thought that would be the point where I'm thinking, right, I'll go and refill my beer, I'll go and empty the bladder, I'll do X, Y, and Z. Come back in time to, catch the end of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a lot better than what I expected. There were some really good spots. Was it Ricochet that hit the... How would you describe it now? The sort of monkey flip from the electric chair spot, if I'm getting this one right.
The Canadian Destroyer.
Possibly. I'm sure there was a spot where there was 2 people that had somebody up in an almost like double electric chair, and then I'm sure it was Ricochet that flew from the corner to take him out, that sort of took everybody out.
He just did like the leapfrog. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I thought this match was excellent. It was just pure fun. Spot. It's like all 8 guys just go out there, put on a show, and they did. Show them what you can do. They did. A lot of fun. Street Profits were the right winners for me. There's a lot of momentum behind them. So yeah, I can't argue with the match or the result. 9 out of 10.
And you know what? I can't really argue too much with it either. As much as I got that prediction wrong, I'd gone Strowman and Ricochet because I thought they were trying to build something there. I can understand them putting the result on the Street Profits because, again, sort of coming back to the tag team division, it's sort of... There doesn't seem to be very many teams at the moment that have got too much momentum behind them that, if needs be, they could say, right, let's throw them into the tag team belts side of things. And I think this result for the Street Profits, especially, like say, with the momentum that they've had going behind them, it gives them a lot of credibility. I could really imagine, certainly within the next couple of months, I could picture the Street Profits being in the tag team championships side of things.
Yeah, definitely. They need to wrap up this feud with Owens and Zayn and the Bloodline, and because that's where all the tag team gold is at the minute. And so they need to wrap that up, and they've got the brand split come in. So do it however they need to do it, just to put some more onus on the tag team division. Get 2 sets of tag champs again, and then you can start building momentum in more tag teams. And you've got Chad Gable and Otis. I don't know how long that team's going to last, but so you got the Street Profits, you've got Strowman, Ricochet. Who else? You've got the Viking Raiders. You've got Butch and forget his name now. Oh, now I feel terrible. The 2 other guys from
know what you mean as well.
Brutes.
Yeah.
You got them 2. You've got Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Who else? You've got Maximum Male Models. They're a tag team as such, and you've still got the Usos. You've still got Zayn and Owens. They'll definitely put other teams together as it's going. They'll just make some genetic test tube teams.
Yeah, and like you say,
yeah,
I mean, the very worst case scenario is they can do what they've always done and just pick two mid-carders, put them together, and just throw them in, see what they can do. But in terms of this particular match itself, again, completely inclined to agree with you. I think the result was right. Um, I'd give it a solid 7.5, maybe 8. Really enjoyed it a lot more than what I thought. Um, that then brings us to Seth Rollins and Logan Paul.
Jesus, yeah.
Now, this was a match that I looked at and I just thought I just couldn't see the logic behind it. Um, the only reason that I can see for this match is that they've got some kind of future plans for Logan Paul. Because for me, Seth Rollins is deserving of a far better match at WrestleMania than with just some part-time celebrity that, for me, as good as I think he is, he's just basically trying out wrestling to see whether or not he likes it. And like I said, don't get me wrong, Logan Paul has been far better than what I would ever have predicted. Certainly a lot better than I actually want to admit, because I really don't like the guy.
It's annoying how good he is.
Yeah, 100%.
So annoying how good he is, because you just think you've been you've been in the business a year and a bit maybe, and it's just like I would say he's an upper mid card capable talent.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, so it's annoying how quickly he's become that good.
I mean, that being said, though, I do believe that he was trained by HBK, so, he's not got a bad mentor behind him there, has he?
Yeah, but so's the majority of NXT.
True.
But yeah, I mean, it was a great match. It was good. I mean, Seth Rollins is always fantastic. For me, he's probably top 5 wrestlers in the world. Seth Rollins,
Yeah.
Just for his complete package.
And the thing is, with Seth Rollins, for me, he himself, because he was trained by Shawn Michaels, he gets a lot of comparisons to what Shawn Michaels was like. And I'd be intrigued to see if you agree with this. I think the one that I'd sort of compare him to the most would be Chris Jericho. Mainly because I think he works really well as a heel. I think he works really well as a face. But I also think he's capable of getting a good match out of literally anybody that you put him in the ring with. Like, you could put him in the ring with you or I, and he'd make a fantastic match out of it. I just think he's that sort of rare talent that he just makes anybody look brilliant.
Yeah, no, he does, yeah. Yeah. I'd say I couldn't fault the match, and I thought the reveal that it was KSI and that bottle of Prime was sensational. I absolutely love that. And
that was really funny.
That spot on the announce table was so well done. There's so many ways that could have gone wrong, and I don't mean in a dangerous way, but in a way where it doesn't look as fluid. And it was perfect. Logan timed his jump to perfection. Seth timed his tugging on KSI to perfection. KSI timed his, he's got to jump himself onto that table as well. It was all timed to absolute perfection.
Yeah, that was a really good spot for somebody, like you say, that's one of them only been in the business for a very short amount of time. One of them is his first appearance. And like you said, just the reveal itself that it was KSI, because if anybody, I'd have thought that would have been Jake Paul.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it wasn't, don't get me wrong, because if Jake Paul would have come into it as well, I'd have just thought, I'm not sure I want to watch this anymore. But yeah, again, really fun match. Served its purpose, kept the crowd interested, kept us sort of sat there watching, kept us engaged. I'm going to go a solid 8. I think 8 out of 10 I don't think's too flattering.
I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I'd agree with that. That's a fair assessment. There's not a lot more they could have done to make it any better. But yeah.
So, the next one being the women's tag team match. Now, This is one that I was very surprised with. Although I predicted Lita and Becky to retain, I did also picture a Trish heel turn in some way, shape, or form. I thought that it was going to be WrestleMania that they were going to do it because I mean, it was written in the stars. There was always going to be a Trish heel turn at some point. And I really thought this was where they were going to do it, but obviously it didn't. Again, the match itself I thought was really good. I can see what you mean about damage control. I'm not sure how much more life there is in that, if there is any at all. But this will lead us obviously into Backlash because I believe is it Dakota who's challenging?
Yeah, Dakota Kai. Is it? No, it's not Dakota Kai. It's Io Sky.
Oh yeah.
Io Sky is challenging Bianca Belair. I mean, we already know Bianca's not dropping the belt.
No. Do I like the idea behind that or not?
I think.
I like
serving
Bianca.
a purpose as a story pin to split the group up. You see on Raw last night. There was chatting. There was all talking backstage, and Bailey spoke over Io and said, "Oh, we'll be there at Backlash, and we will be taking that belt off you." And so, it's kind of one of them, like she's already kind of saying it's as if she's controlling Io, and if Io wins, she wins. And and I think this match is going to be, there's going to be something that goes on that Bailey is going to try and distract Bianca, but it's going to in turn cost Io the match. Something like that. And it's going to spur the split up of the group on.
Yeah, I can picture that. And I think one of the reasons they've kept the belt on Bianca for so long is, to what I believe, when it comes to Backlash, she's either a day behind or equals Becky Lynch's run with the Raw Women's title, one of the two.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I think the idea there is obviously she's going to break Becky's record. I think that much is obvious because again, I'm inclined to agree with you. I don't picture Bianca dropping the title at Backlash. I think if she was going to drop it, it would have been at WrestleMania. But obviously that's one we'll come to. But again, in terms of the match, it was decent. You can't really pick too many faults in it. Well,
I honestly thought going into it, I thought it was just Trish and Lita being in it. I thought it was just going to be like a one-off nostalgia pop. I didn't expect Trish and Lita to be able to go still like they could back in the day. To be honest, no disrespect to them, but they've not been in the ring for a long time. And I really wasn't expecting it to be up to the caliber of a WrestleMania card. However, it very much was.
Yeah, I was very impressed with how well they can still go.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll give it the same as what I did with Theory and Cena, a 6 out of 10. It was everything it needed to be. There was nothing particular wrong with the match. It just didn't reach. It's unfortunate that their match looks worse than it is because of the caliber and the quality of the other matches on the card. And
yeah, I think if
that's all it is.
If that match would have been on a worse card, then we probably would be saying that it was better than what we are doing. Just simply because, like you said, I think the bar had already by this point been set to a standard that it was difficult to keep up with. But again, like you say, it served its purpose. Do I believe that the Trish turn should have happened at Mania? Yes, I do, but it didn't, unfortunately.
It didn't, no.
But apart from that, everything else.
I think they held that heel turn off purely because of the speculation around it, and everyone was expecting it. So I think they held it off.
Yeah.
But it's one of them. It's like to compare it to something would be like if there was an open mic comedy night at my local pub, and there was me and one other person. I went down there and I could have told the funniest comedy set in the history of comedy sets. But then the guy on after me is Peter Kay. It don't matter. It don't matter how funny I was. You're never going to be seen. You know what I mean? Peter Kay is that next level, isn't he? And
yeah.
that's and that, I think that's all it is. It was absolutely fine match. Nothing. You can't fault anything. So yeah, for me, just a safe, steady 6 out of 10.
Yeah, 100%. So then we've got Ray and Dominic. Now, again, this was one that I enjoyed more than what I thought I was going to. I always thought that Ray was going over, simply because, he goes into the Hall of Fame the night before.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a very strange result for him to take a loss the night after he goes into the Hall of Fame, I thought. Unless it was some sort of retirement stipulation, or there was some kind of face turn on Dominic's side, or there was something more than what happened. But again, the match in itself, I thought the spot where, he gets in his sister's face and then his mum's face again, and then Ray comes up being the big saviour and whatnot, that was good. I thought obviously Bad Bunny getting involved, as much as you could look back now and say, I think it was really obvious. I see where it sort of makes sense as well, because obviously they're building for Bad Bunny this whole Backlash involvement, and he stops Dominic with the chain. The unfortunate thing with this one, though, is for a match that I really enjoyed, the thing that I enjoyed about it the most was Ray coming out to Viva La Raza, because I didn't picture that, and that was a really nice surprise, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great match. Rey Mysterio is always going to be fantastic. I think Dominic Mysterio is coming on leaps and bounds. And the unfortunate thing for Dominic is he's amazing on the mic. He is a heel magnet. He drags in the heat. Everybody hates him, like in the way he wants to be hated, like for that character. So it's perfect. And I think because he's so good at that, he needs to constantly work on his in-ring work, which is fine. I've got no quarrels with that at all. But he has to. You have to be equal with both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's, and I'm sure he will get there. Absolutely. He's working with, say, Damian Priest, Finn Balor on the regular. Because he's close friends with them backstage. He's and obviously his dad's going to be helping him, and you've got all the trainers in there and stuff like that. So he's going to be world class in the next few years, without a doubt. But yeah, that's a great match. I'd give that a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. I'd say a 7 out of 10. Again, some really good scenes behind it. Like we've basically said for every match on this card so far, I think it served its purpose for what it was there to do.
Yeah.
Now the next one, Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. This could be a sort of controversial view of this, but for me, it's one of, if not the best women's match that I've seen on a WrestleMania card. I thought Rhea looked amazing. I thought she was absolutely fantastic. Again, as much as I predicted Rhea to win, all I could think throughout that match is it's going to be WWE doing what WWE do, and Charlotte picks up the win. Somehow she'll pick up the win. So I was very, very happy that that's not how it went down. I think the momentum that Rhea had built going into this match, the only sensible thing would have been to put the belt on her. So I'm so fucking glad that they did.
Yeah, for me, this was my favourite match of the weekend. Was it the best wrestling match? Probably not. But as far as a complete package goes, it was. You had You had the caliber of the two stars, Ripley and Flair, both phenomenal talents, and then you had the story, of Ripley's rise, how good she is. She'd come from losing 2 years previous to Flair at Mania, come all the way back now, come all the way around. She won the Rumble from number one, absolutely smashed it. And you had Charlotte Flair, who's been top of the pile for years and years in the women's division. And the story they told throughout that match, they were matching each other blow for blow, and it just, Charlotte just wore down, and you could see, that was the character she was portraying. She knew she was going to lose, and she fought for absolutely everything. She fought to keep herself there, and I thought the story work, the character work, by both of them. I think especially Charlotte, just the way she maintained her reactions after defeat. Sat down, smiling, knew she'd give absolutely everything, knowing she'd lost. And you could see she respected Rhea after it. And I thought it was just, and towards the end, it just turned into a slugfest. And
yeah.
And it was just brilliant. It was just, there was so much emotion behind it. And yeah, for me, that was my favorite match of the weekend. Just pure. It was the match that was the complete package.
Yeah, and I think for me it was one of those that if you were to take the fact, which is the red herring, if you like, when it comes to wrestling, that it's scripted. If you take that out of the equation and you watch that match as a real wrestling match, it had all the believability that it actually was a real match. And again, if it's a case of, you take everything else out of the equation, I think either one of the two could have won and won believably. Again, I'm glad that Rhea did. I think, again, they both looked amazing. And I agree with what you were saying there about Charlotte. If you look at the sort of behind the scenes about it, and you look at what Charlotte was in there to do, she played her part there to an absolute T. And you've got all this comparison of Charlotte Flair being the woman's version of John Cena, that Charlotte wins, lol kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a new one of them now, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, you've got to give her a due, because the last few years, I certainly feel anyway, the last few years, when she has had to lie down and put somebody else over, she's done it, but she has sold it so well. She's made it so believable.
Yeah, she knew her job. She knew her job. She gets the business, and she knew her job. And that's why she's been at the top, because they trust her to do the job, to have the big matches, to put on a show. They trust her to do that, and that's why she's always been kind of caretaker of the belt for so long. Like, they wanted the belt on Rhea when Rousey had it, and they just didn't know how they were going to do that. And it was just like, well, we're bringing Charlotte back. So, they had her win straight away, beat Flair, returns, gets in the ring, challenges Rousey. Rousey accepts, Flair wins, takes the belt, because they knew that Charlotte could put on that WrestleMania caliber match with Rhea Ripley and give Rhea Ripley that huge rub on a big stage and make her look 100 times better, even though she doesn't need help looking like that, but it just made it made her look even more dominant. It made her look more of a legitimate contender. I thought the whole thing was perfect. And yeah, I can't fault it. 10 out of 10. I'm giving that match 10 out of 10.
And again, I'll agree with that. I think the rub that Rhea got from Charlotte, which again, like you've just rightly said, she didn't necessarily need per se, but I do believe it's definitely helped. I think that was the same kind of rub that they would have been hoping that Theory got from Cena. The way that Charlotte performed in that match, the way she sold Rhea's moves, the way she reacted to everything, and like you say, the reaction at the end of the match. What more can you ask? What more can you ask from that match? There was, for me, nothing. Which, and then that leads us into the main event. Now, let's be honest, the little boy wrestling fans within us all, this is the match that we were looking forward to the most, or it certainly was for me anyway. Again, it was one of those where I thought there was only one sensible winner. More so from Sammy's kind of run over the last couple of months. I think the crowd reactions that he's been pulling over the last few months have been absolutely phenomenal. They've rivaled, potentially even beaten Cody's reactions a few times. There was the story behind it of Sammy taking his revenge, which obviously the match result tells you that he did. I think the thing that I enjoyed in this story the most was the pop on SmackDown when obviously the Usos jumped Sammy. KO comes down to make the save. The crowd then start chanting, "Hug it out," and when they actually did, that pop for me was absolutely phenomenal. It's up there with one of the best that I've heard. So for this match, it could have only gone that way. I think if they'd have ended night one as well as the rest of the card would have done, with the Usos retaining, would have just ruined the entire night.
Yeah. It would have, had it have gone the same way as the main event from night two went, I think, it would have ruined the entire weekend.
Yeah.
I think any positive feelings from other things on the card would have been heavily diluted. So it was a good fan service, feel good moment. Everyone knew it was coming, and it didn't matter that everyone knew it was coming. They just wanted to see it happen, and they delivered. And it was an excellent match. So many near falls towards the end, and you bite for them all. All four of them guys, they know the stuff. They know what they're doing. They know how to wrestle, and they know how to put on a show. I mean, I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling anyway. I love it. It was as excellent as you'd expect those four people to be.
Yeah.
And
obviously, big credit to the Usos for carrying the belts for as long as what they did. And I think with what the Usos have done with those belts, I feel they've put themselves in a position now where, you could slide them down the card for however long you feel like. Let's just say 6 months, just for sake of argument. Slide them down the card for 6 months, and then just decide to propel them back into the main event scene, and it would be entirely believable. I think they've built themselves into that kind of team that you can just slingshot them like that, and there's no loss of credibility behind it, I don't feel.
No, there's not. Definitely not. I think the Usos now are just going to go in the way of, because it's the draft this Friday on SmackDown, but it's also Usos versus Sami Zayn rematch for the tag titles. I'm hoping to God they don't put the belts back on the Usos, because if they don't, there's more ammo there to further the implosion of the bloodline. Excuse me, sorry. But yeah.
Okay.
It's just you can carry that story on now in a different direction that and leave Sammy and KO to do what they need to do elsewhere with other tag teams, and put a bit more fucking credibility on the tag team division now and just give them titles to fight for.
Yeah. But night one overall, if we're going to summarise it in any way, I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable. I don't remember being sat during night one and being disappointed at any stage. I think it started off. The start off was fine, and for me, it seemed to be one of those cards that just slowly sort of built as each match went on.
Yeah.
The night overall, even though obviously it's not going to match up with what I've given the individual matches, I think the entire night, I'm going to have to give it a solid 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9. I remember.
Yeah.
Well, I remember going to bed after night one, and I'm like, that's one of the best WrestleMania cards I've ever seen. I cannot wait for tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think in total the whole card was structured perfectly. You had the big opening pop, the big Cena show at the start to get the crowd hyped. All right, the crowd didn't like the result of Theory winning, but you got them going, you got them in the mood, and then you had the four-way tag title fight, four-way tag team match. To get them going, get their energy up, like impressive, big spectacle, high spots, everything. And then you had the fun, technical display, Rollins, Logan Paul. It's got the celebrity stamp on it. That's your obligatory celebrity match, if you will. And that gets them hyped. You see a bit of a slugfest with that, a bit of a back and forth, slower paced at times, which is what they needed. And then you calm them down. Then with the women's tag match, and it just kind of gives the crowd time to breathe and catch the breath a bit and just recover, because then you've got the emotionally charged Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio match. So there's hype behind that, so that gets them going again. And then you show them like the two gladiators in Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair going at it, and it's a big solid spectacle of a fight, and everyone was hyped. And you knew what you was getting with the main event. So I thought, as far as structure went, it was perfect. It just gave the crowd enough time to breathe in the middle, and they just got a bit of everything throughout.
Yeah.
So
I have just thought
8 out of 10 for the whole night.
I have just thought, though, technically, we have missed a match out there.
Oh, don't. No.
If we call it a segment, I think it was.
Yeah, it's a segment.
There's always going to be something like that happens.
The thing is, that's. He showed up at Royal Rumble as a surprise, and it was a genuine surprise. And then he does it at Mania, and then it's like every other pay-per-view now. You're just going to be expecting Pat McAfee to come out, so it's not going to be a surprise anymore. And don't get me wrong, I like Pat McAfee. He works hard and he's done well for himself. And, he knows what he's doing. And I suppose it gave the crowd a bit of a comedy spot, but I don't think it was needed personally. I don't think it played down the night in any way. I don't think it ruined the night in any way, but I don't think it elevated it either. So it was like a non-runner, so to speak. It didn't.
Yeah, it
didn't
just
do
kind of
either way.
Yeah, it kind of existed. Sort of filled a little bit of time in between the women's match and then the main event.
Yeah.
But then, that leads us into night 2. So, top of the card, we've got Brock Lesnar and Omos. I thought it was all right.
It was absolutely fine, yeah.
Is it going to be a match that we're going to remember in 5 years' time? No, of course not. But did any of us expect that? You've got Lesnar, who's renowned for short-term matches, apart from maybe the last couple of years in WrestleMania main events. Generally speaking, if he's not fighting for the title, you're not expecting it to go more than 5 minutes. And then especially when you're putting him in the ring with somebody like Omos, who, I've got nothing against Omos, but he's a giant.
He's a spectacle.
That's all he is. Yeah, exactly.
That's his thing. That's his shtick. That's his thing. He's Omos. He's fucking 9 foot tall. But that match was everything it needed to be. It needed to be short. You needed the spot of Lesnar finally picking up Omos.
Yeah.
and it was it was like a callback to Hulk Hogan's body slamming Andre the Giant. That's what it was. It was one of those spots.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it was absolutely fine. I'll give it. I'll say with the matches, it was satisfying. 6 out of 10 for me. That's just. I'll review it as quickly as it was over.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah, and again, 6 out of 10. I think is completely fair. There's not really too much you can say about it because there's not really too much to talk about. So then we get the women's fatal 4-way tag team match. Again, I thought it was all right. Nothing particularly special. I'm going to be honest with this one and say I didn't like the fact that you didn't see Ronda throughout the entire match, but then she picks up the W. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand that apparently coming into WrestleMania, she had some health problems. She weren't exactly 100% fit to wrestle, so I can understand why they've done it the way that they did.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly dislike this one, but again, it's one of those not my favourite match I've seen. They
knew, Ronda and Shayna both injured going into it, and it's a lose-lose because they have to win that match because it's Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, two of the hardest women on the planet.
Yeah.
There's no way they can't lose that match. It's just a burial for both of them. But then the other side of that is the winner of that will eventually be putting himself in a position to fight for the tag titles. And Ronda and Shayna aren't going to do that because they're both injured.
Yeah.
So it's what do? You can't do wrong for doing, you can't go right for going wrong. And it's I think it was just an unfortunate set of circumstances all around. All the women worked hard. I think there's a couple of test tube tag teams in there. They really need to start establishing some proper tag teams in that women's division. The belts are currently on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, which is fine. I think they're starting to work well as a team, but you just feel like one of them's going to turn on the other.
Yeah, eventually.
At some point. But it's just, it was fine. 6 out of 10.
Yeah, for me, there's two ways that they can approach this moving forward now. It's either, like you say, invest some real time and creativity into the women's tag team division. Or the alternative, and this is one that I've heard mentioned a couple of times now, if you're not going to invest in the tag titles and treat them seriously, why not get rid of them and bring in a woman's mid-card title, or even 2 women's mid-card titles, like a US and Intercontinental belt for each brand? Do one of the two. Either way, I think it's at a point now where they have to do something with the women's mid-card, because it's getting to a point where it's clear as daylight that they just don't care about the women's mid-card. And they should do, because they've got some phenomenal talent, and those that you're not going to put towards the main women's belt. You've got to do something with them.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. There's so much talent wasting away. So much talent wasting away.
Down here.
I thought you're scratching your ass. Got a bit of dirt in your eye, mate.
No, if my bum needed a scratch, I'd be asking you.
It's one of them. It's the thing is now, because they were struggling like that before, and then they did that all women's pay-per-view, which was great, but then they did nothing afterwards, and no went anywhere, no really changed, and then they've ended up losing quality talent in Sasha Banks, who's now Mercedes Moné, Naomi. They've lost 2 people, especially Banks or Moné. She's just probably one of the best women wrestlers in the world. She's a complete package, ability and just charisma. She's just an absolute superstar. She's one of them. You look at her and you think, yeah, she's gold. Like she's money, essentially. And yeah, they're going to start losing women because they're not using them.
Yeah,
they're not using them. There's no credible. And it's back to that what we were saying earlier about credible storylines. There's just none of it in the women's division, really.
No, and prime example of who they could lose, Bayley. If they don't do something meaningful with Bayley, how long is it going to be before Bayley looks at what Sasha's done since she left WWE and think, well, she's a good friend of mine. Why don't I just go and do the same thing? And it'll only be a matter of time before other talent start following suit. So, I mean, yeah. I hope that they do something with it soon. What direction they're going to go in or whether they actually do change anything remains to be seen. Would it surprise me so much if they don't do anything? No, because it's WWE. And this is another issue that I'm sure we'll bring up shortly. But the particular match in itself, yeah, same again. 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Didn't particularly have any issues with the match other than, Ronda and Shayna, although you can understand why they've gone the way that they have. It's one of those, it is what it is.
Yeah, it was a shit situation all round, and it would have been a nightmare to book. I wouldn't have wanted to book that, knowing with all the information about their injuries in that. I would have been like, I don't want to touch that because there's no way of coming out of this without it looking shit from one perspective.
Yeah, and I think when you get to this point in the card as well with Night 2, I think Night 2 suffered from a little bit of underwhelming feeling because of Night 1. I think if these 3 matches would have opened Night 1, I think we would have looked at them a little bit more positively than what we did. But I think the bar was set so high from Night 1 that the matches so far on Night 2 just... They didn't live up to the hype, and I don't think there was any way that they could have done.
Until the next match.
And I was just going to say that. So then it brings us to the Intercontinental title match. Now, I don't understand why, but I've seen a lot of negative reactions to this match, and I don't understand why, because from just a sheer wrestling perspective, I thought this was phenomenal. I thought it was 3 really credible, really hard-hitting guys going in there doing what they do best.
Yeah.
The result of the match, I think, makes a lot of sense. But I also believe, do you know what? I think this was one of those matches where I think any one of the 3 could have walked out with the title and it would have made sense in some way, shape or form. You've got Gunther because you want to continue to build him as this badass that he is. He reminds me a lot of what Kozlov should have been when you had Kozlov a good few years back. I think they've learned from the mistakes with Kozlov and they're booking Gunther right. You could have had Drew walk out with the title because it puts a belt on Drew, which he's not had for a while, in front of a live audience, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he ever actually had. I think both of his WWE title wins were during lockdown. And you could have put the belt on Sheamus because it's the only belt that he's never held.
Mm-hmm.
But the match itself, I thought was brilliant. One of those classical, hard-hitting wrestling matches.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All 3 of them, solid workers. They know. I keep saying it about a lot of them, but it's true. They know what they're doing. They know the job. They know the end game, and it's just like, right, go out there, let's chop the shit out of each other, and let's have fun and show them a big slugfest. And that's literally what they did. And you couldn't ask for more. It was like a modern version of watching an early 80s wrestling match.
Yeah. Just
2 big guys just whacking each other. But this was 3 big guys whacking each other, but in a modern setting with a slightly more modern moveset. and it was just perfect. It was just such a fun match, and like you said, it could have arguably gone. Any of the three could have won that, and that have been able to easily justify. You give that belt to Drew, and it gives him his moment, but then it also goes straight into a storyline with Sheamus. Two friends that have fallen out because of it. You give the belt to Sheamus, and that's him. He's won everything now. He's a Grand Slam champion. He's won every belt. He's won a King of the Ring. He's won a Royal Rumble. He's then won absolutely everything you can win, and then you could have kept it on Gunther, which they did, and he's just a solid champion, and you don't know who's going to dethrone him. Obviously, the onus is on Sheamus to do it.
Yeah,
but you just have to see what happens with the draft. But I imagine they will. They can't not give Sheamus that Intercontinental title. They will give it to him at some point.
He'll definitely win it at some point. I can picture him being the one that takes it off Gunther. How long that's going to take, that remains to be seen. But it's one of those situations where it could be a backlash. It could be toward the end of the year, and I don't think it loses its meaning simply because of, like you say, the fact that that's the one thing that Sheamus hasn't won. You could do that at any point during 2023, and it's still going to carry the same weight as what it would have done had Sheamus have won it at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'd say, Cody wins SummerSlam, Sheamus wins SummerSlam. Gunther goes away for a month, give him a month off or whatever. Give Cody a measly feud for a month or two with someone, I don't know, and just pick someone that's a semi-believable threat, but not a believable threat, and then bring Gunther back as a challenger for Cody, and because Gunther's a credible threat,
100%.
You just get him straight into the world title scene because that's the next step for him.
Yeah, and he deserves it. He's, like you say, he's given himself that credibility, that believability. I do believe that's a match that we're going to see at some point in the future. Cody versus Gunther for the top title. And you know what? I really look forward to seeing that one as well.
Yeah, no, that'd be a great match. I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I can agree with a 9. Like you say, there's not too much more that you could do there. Was it the same as the sort of matches that you'd seen previous? No, but it was never going to be with the men that you had in the ring. They did everything they needed to do.
Clash at the Castle, Gunther Sheamus, Hossfest, brilliant match. And then, how can you make that better? Hey, let's throw in another guy who's a similar stature, similar moveset. Let's have 3 of them at it. Oh, nice, brilliant. It's a recipe for success.
Yeah. So, that then brings us to Bianca and Asuka. Now, I'm going to start this off by saying I thought there was nothing wrong with the match. I thought the match was everything that these two women should be doing. They put on a really good show. I just don't understand why they didn't pull the trigger on Asuka. I genuinely... I was very shocked at the result. I thought the script was written there for Asuka to take the title with some of the momentum that she'd pulled in leading into WrestleMania. I like Bianca, don't get me wrong. I think she's brilliant. She's a fantastic talent. But I am just getting to the point now where I'm just thinking it's just Bianca wins, lol.
Literally, I was waiting for you to finish, and I was just going to say, Bianca wins, lol. 5 out of 10. No, I think both of them phenomenal athletes. Bianca's, I'd put her on a similar pedestal to Sasha Banks in the form of she's a complete package, complete superstar. She's going to be around for years. She's going to be top of the game for years. I just think it's shit how Asuka has been treated since she came up to the main card all them years ago. She had this incredible undefeated streak throughout NXT. She was a monster. She was mean. And then she loses to Charlotte Flair. And it was like, okay, that's fine. Okay, she can be beaten. All right. But let's keep her in that main event scene. And they really didn't do that. They chucked her down. They brought her up for a little bit, chucked her down. And she won Money in the Bank. And it was just like, right, well, she don't get a cash in because Becky's pregnant. So the best thing we can do here is just give her the belt, which, all right, fine. But then they just didn't really do anything with her. And she's an incredible talent. She's a great character. She might not be size-wise up there with your Rhea Ripleys and your Biancas and your Shaynas and your Rondas. But she's a submission specialist, and she's got this viciousness around a character that you can believe her to be a credible threat to these women. And I don't think they put any respect on her at all. And, you know, if I was there, I would be looking elsewhere. I'd be thinking, do you know what? I'm going to go back to Japan, get back to Stardom or to NJPW, and and go somewhere where I'm going to be appreciated and booked to my talents.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, no disrespect to Bianca or Asuka, but I'm never giving it more than a 5 out of 10 purely because I'm bitter how they've treated Asuka, and I love her.
I'll give it a generous 6, simply because, like I say, I thought the match itself there wasn't an awful lot wrong with.
Nothing wrong with it, no.
I think when it comes to Asuka, the big comparison that springs to mind for me is she's the Daniel Bryan of the women's division. Somebody that, like I say, submission specialist, in terms of technical ability, absolutely phenomenal. Just purely down to size, never treated with the respect as a credible champion that she should be treated with. And what you said there about the Money in the Bank, okay, again, it's one of those that, shite, what do we do here? There wasn't an awful lot that they could do, but it also it took away that Asuka moment of her cashing in, because it's always a big pop, the cashing in. When it's done right, they could have made that into something. They never got the opportunity to, but that's one example where it's a shame. But everything else, it's just they've just not used her the way that they should be doing. And like you've just said there, if she's one of the next ones that thinks, you know what, I deserve more than this, and I'm going to go out and get it, it really would not surprise me at all.
Mm. Yeah.
Well, then, if you're giving that a 5, then it's interesting to see where you go. Snoop Dogg versus The Miz. Yeah.
Do you know what?
No.
Right. I'm not even going to give this a rating because Shane McMahon return was nothing I was interested in. But I'm not even classing this as a match. This is another one of them little comedy skit thrown in there to kill a bit of time, maybe. However, I'm massive props to Snoop Dogg, because Shane McMahon came down, tore his quad, could no longer do it. And in the blink of an eye, someone made the call, get Snoop Dogg to lay out the Miz and give him a people's elbow. And they literally told him that straight away, and he just did it.
Yeah.
No hesitation, no weariness about it, just straight in there, clock him, right. I mean, it's an awful people's elbow, but he did it at a moment's notice. He improvised, and, all respect in the world for him to that. He's a proper showman. He knows the stick. He knows what to do. So I'm not giving it a rating. I'm not rating it. It's not a match.
No,
I
agree.
I'm not
with
rating
that.
it. But and as far as a segment in total goes, it was garbage. I don't agree with those segments. Like the Pat McAfee one, it irked me. Albeit, you needed to have people like Miz on the card because Miz is a showman. But massive props to Snoop for improvising like that and saving the segment.
Yeah, and the funny thing was before Snoop got involved, because I remember sitting here, there was a few of us watching it in Discord, and when Shane's gone down and it's clear that he's hurt, he can't carry on, And I'd said to my flatmate, I'm sure that referee's just said something about a people's elbow. And then lo and behold, Snoop comes out of nowhere like, ah, fuck it, Shane can't go.
Yeah.
I will. But yeah, fair play to him for that, because like you've just rightly pointed out, it's something that he wasn't prepared for. They'd obviously not rehearsed. Yeah, it was awful. That is the people's elbow version of the Stone Cold Stunner from the year previously that Vince McMahon had, because that wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
even Austin broke character.
Yeah.
Austin broke character when that happens. He was just laughing his head off. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, fair play to Snoop, but needless. Didn't need to be there. Why they did it, I don't know. Especially after doing it night one, because I think it's like they were just determined to make Miz look like a joke. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
That then leads us into Edge and Finn Balor, Hell in a Cell. Again, I was surprised with the result with this one. Purely because it was Demon Finn. I thought, obviously, Demon King had already had a loss to Roman. We'd not seen him since, from memory.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it from a booking perspective here, why you'd put Edge over him. I think for me it does more harm. Yeah, maybe.
Just a feud ender. The face wins and it ends a feud, doesn't it, usually?
Yeah, I can understand that. The match itself, I thought was decent. Probably would have been a lot better had not for events have gone the way that they did. You've got to give big props to Finn for having to take a numbing agent.
Staple my head now.
Yeah, taking an anaesthetic, having his head stapled.
In it first. Oh, okay, yeah, do that. And staple my head. Jesus.
Yeah,
what a trooper.
Getting up and finishing the match. Wow.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah. No, great match. Two great wrestlers. Like I said, they know what they're doing. They're brilliant at what they do. I feel like it. I don't know. I think that incident with Finn's head stitching, I think that changed the flow of the match, and I feel like it ended sooner than it was supposed to. But in a way, I think it worked. It just, those two have been feuding for. I mean, it feels like well over a year, and I bet if you looked at a calendar, it probably isn't. But it was just a nice little end to the feud. Hopefully, touch wood. That's it for that feud now. Can't take any more of it. But yeah, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I would have given it 7, but I'll give it an 8 because Finn took stitches at ringside. Fair play.
Yeah, I think that in itself gave it a bit more. I think the colour-coded weapons though, that was a bit corny. Like it was like what? bit of a strange one.
What colour was the cell? I can't remember what colour the cell was. Just a normal.
I think it was a normal cell.
Chrome. They didn't use the red one, did they? I don't think they used the red cell.
No. It definitely weren't a red one. Yeah, I'm sure it was just a normal cell with colour-coded weapons. They went back to the old one. Yeah.
Yeah, they went back to the old one. Okay. Yeah.
And then that leads us into the main event. Now, I don't need to say anything about the disappointment with the result. None, but I can see. I don't need to say anything about any sort of disappointment with the result. I'm going to talk about the match first because I thought the match was brilliant and it confirmed for me that Roman Reigns is the king of the near fall. The amount of 2 counts where he's basically kicking out at like 2 7/8. I think he's perfected that to a T.
Oh, he's brilliant at it. Absolutely brilliant. He's great at what he does. I'm just trying to find a picture of the face I was trying to mimic. There it is. I'm just gonna send you it in the Discord. of the angry wrestling girl. But yeah,
Oh, I know exactly who you mean here. WrestleMania 27, by any chance? Was it 27? No.
No, it was when Jinder Mahal beat Randy Orton on I think it was just an episode of SmackDown for the world title. And yeah, that girl was pictured in the crowd like that. She's like my spirit animal, that kid.
Do you know what? I need to bring this in. You see, I always thought, because as soon as you said that, I thought, I know what's coming here. But I thought that was the reaction to Miz beating Cena. And I'm not sure why now.
No, it was Jinder Mahal beating Randy Orton. And everyone, like, there was people in the crowd laughing, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they've done that," because Jinder Mahal was never seen as a credible contender, which is a shame because he's a specimen, like incredible athlete. But I think he's just struggled to get his character over.
Right, guys, are you ready for this? Because again, I've got to agree with Jim here. I think this is all of our reactions to the result of this match. I mean, that sums it up perfectly. But yeah, the funny thing was somebody in my Discord had said earlier on in the day, I think they posted a meme, and it was, what's everyone's reactions going to be like when Roman hits the spear for the 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
And I just didn't believe it. I'm like, no, not going to happen. There is no way that Cody walks out of WrestleMania without those belts. And when it did, I think there was some very colourful choice of words for me.
Because it was set up, Owens hit him with a stunner, Sammy hit him with a haluva kick, and it was like everyone he's wronged in this past year has come back on to haunt him. And then it was like he goes for the crossroads, and you think this is it. And then fucking Solo Sikoa comes back. He's already been banned from ringside once. Apparently, there's no rules. But yeah, I think who was it? Someone online. I think it might have been Simon Miller. He made a good point that originally they had The Rock penciled in to face Roman at this year's Mania, and there was no way The Rock was winning that. So. No. They obviously had plans for Roman to keep the belts originally for longer than WrestleMania anyway. But still, it doesn't change the fact that I wanted Cody to win.
It's just, for me, there's a lot of it now that doesn't make sense. Not only within the night, but in the build-up as well. I mean, like you've just said there, the stunner and the haluva kick, now it's almost like, well, why have you done that? Just for Roman to win anyway? Like, why get anybody else involved?
Yeah.
And this sort of leads into what happens after WrestleMania, because then to sort of touch on that a little bit so that I can make this point make sense, to have the whole Brock heel turn on Cody. If the idea was Cody going into a feud with Brock after WrestleMania, why not just do that before he challenges for the title?
Well, I think it was a timing issue, but why not have Brock cost him the match?
Yeah, do you know what? Even better. Like,
then that adds another layer to the Bloodline saga as well, because then it's a case of, have Roman acting surprised that Brock's involved, and then have Roman starting to doubt Paul Heyman and. Like, oh, did you know Brock was coming? And did you get him involved? And he's still friends with him? He's still talking to him? Is that why he's here? How's he here? And it just adds another layer to Roman Reigns' like psyche, as he feels like the Usos are letting him down, and now he's not trusting Heyman. And then the final straw will be Solo Sikoa. He'll end up just him and Solo, and he'll start to doubt Solo, and then that creates a feud between him and Solo, which I think is probably the end game for that whole Bloodline saga.
But do you know what else that would do as well? Is Because I'm sure we've all heard the rumours now that when Roman does eventually drop the belts, he's taking quite a lot of time off. If you do it the way that you say there, you have Brock cost Cody the match to set up Brock versus Cody. It also instantly gives you something to do with Paul Heyman when Roman does take time off. Because you do it exactly how you've just said it, with Roman doubting Paul Heyman's loyalties to him. And then it just turns out that, Paul was still in some way, shape, or form involved with Brock. And then you don't need Paul Heyman coming off TV for any particular length of time. You cover Brock on the mic, because as much as I enjoyed some of Brock's segments as a face, I don't think he is all that great on the mic, especially as a heel.
No.
You cover all of those bases straight away.
Brock's one of these. I don't think he needs the promo skill. He's a like I said with Omos, he's a spectacle, but in a different way. I think Brock benefits more from having a mouthpiece for him, especially Paul Heyman, who's I would say the best in the game at it.
Yeah, 100%.
Without a doubt. Not just his in-ring work, but I've seen clips of him on YouTube at like these conventions and that, and these like a night with Paul Heyman, like on a stage being interviewed and stuff, and the way he can just captivate an audience, just talking and stuff like that, and he's just a phenomenal speaker. And you don't really want to lose him on TV, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Apparently, this Brock thing's been in the pipeline for ages anyway. Way before Mania, they knew that it was going to go that way. I mean, you have the bloodline eventually capitulate. Roman takes his time off, or whatever, after turning on everybody, or maybe you drag it on. The slow disintegration of the bloodline all the way up to, I don't know, after the Rumble, next year's Royal Rumble, and then he's there and he's got them all in the ring and he's going at them, he's fucking laying them all down, or he's giving a promo, or he's laying into them all, and he's saying, I am the head of this table, I am the best of this Samoan dynasty, I am, the forever goat of this tribe. I am in charge of this entire family. I'm the best this family's ever put out. And then that's when you get, if you smell, and then that's when you can get The Rock back into it for that WrestleMania 40, Rock versus Roman. There's no belts involved, so it doesn't matter. You can put The Rock over just for the nostalgia pop if you wanted to, and it works.
Yeah, because I think they've built Roman now to a point where I think losing to The Rock at WrestleMania wouldn't hurt his credibility all that much. It would probably
no.
And
then he can have his time off. He can take his time off after that. You could give him 6 months off, and hopefully by this point you've built enough superstars. Cody Rhodes is remarkably over. Still after that WrestleMania blunder with him. He's still over, which is fantastic. He's what they've always wanted, this super over babyface that doesn't have the same go away heat that John Cena eventually got. Like when they forced Cena down everyone's throats, they forced Roman down everyone's throats originally as a face, and no one wanted it. Albeit they did with Cena at the start, and then I think it got a bit much. It got to John Cena wins lol. And that's why Cena gets big pops now, because he's very few and far between. He's not always winning, and it's just nice to see him again, because you've got fond memories. And I can't see you getting that with Cody. I just can't. And you've got these other superstars now that can come in, like move up the card. Like we said, Gunther earlier. I don't know what's going on with Drew. Shinsuke Nakamura is back on the scene. I think him and Cody would have some great matches. AJ Styles is due back from injury in the next few months. You can raise him up again there, and then you've got the likes of Finn Balor who's always going to put on a main event caliber match. You can trust him to do that. So you've got this good caliber of stars ready to step up and return it to, I don't want to be that person that always says, oh, it was so much better in the Attitude Era. But you had such a plethora of talent at high level.
Yeah.
You look at the main event for pay-per-view Armageddon in 2000 was a 6-man Hell in a Cell match. You had The Rock, Austin, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Rikishi, and The Undertaker. 6 main eventers, all, could have been viable world champions. And it was a golden era for that. And I think, they've just got to trust that they've got that in the talent they've got to have that many up there again, rather than just solely put the company on Roman's back, which they have done. And he's carried it well. He's played his part to perfection with this Bloodline saga. He's been brilliant. But I don't think they need to worry about, they could give him 6 months to a year off, and it wouldn't be a case of, we wouldn't miss him. But I think the company would be just fine with who they've got. I don't think the ratings would drop at all.
Yeah, there's definitely enough people there to sort of run with the ball when Roman does take his time off. They just need to do it right. So this brings me now into the last point. Now, this is what I was saying earlier on, guys, about this is a potential spoiler for anyone that doesn't know what happened on Raw last night or has not yet watched Raw. Obviously, you had the Triple H revealing that they're bringing back the World Heavyweight title. Now, number one, have you seen the design for the belt? Why? When the last few title designs have been so poorly received, why bring back that belt but do something similar with it? Why not just bring that belt back?
They couldn't help themselves. They obviously wanted to get away from the boring belts at the minute, which they're so boring, aren't they? So they know the fans hate them. So it was like, okay, we'll bring something more gold, more traditional looking, and then it's like, but we have to put a massive WWE logo in the middle of it. Now, don't get me wrong, every championship belt has had the logo on. So, there was always putting the logo on it, but I don't know, it doesn't. It's not a fantastic design. It's not a terrible design either, but it's not a great design.
Yeah, it's not awful, but
it's just, I don't get why. And it scares me that they've done this, because now I feel like Roman's not dropping the belts anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I worry because of that. I worry because it's like, we just, they want another title because it's not fair on people. Well, you've already built the Intercontinental title up. You've got a US title there, so you can do something with that as well. If all right, it's not working on Theory at the minute for whatever reason, then take it off him, give it to Bronson Reed, let him and Lashley go at it for a bit, and then bring someone else in and go from there. You've got 2 mid-card titles. Take one of the belts off Roman, or just have Roman drop the belts. It was a perfect opportunity at Mania to give the belts to Cody. Cody would relinquish one. Every wrestling podcast I've listened to recently has all said the same thing as well. Cody would have done that. It would have been a good face work for him to do that. He's a man of honor. His character is, so it's like he'll drop one of the belts. He'll probably drop the Universal title and say, I was after this one. This was the only one I really wanted anyway. This was the one that my dad couldn't get, so now I've got it for him. Universal title, it needs to be defended by someone that's going to be here all the time. I'm not defending both belts, so I'm relinquishing this title. And you could have done it that way, and then you've got your 2 world championships. But yeah, they want Roman to hit this 1,000 days, and I think that 1,000 days hits on, is it SummerSlam or something? The day of SummerSlam is when it's 1,000 days exactly. So all you have to do is wait till then. If you're not going to do it at Mania, do it then, and then you ain't got to create this belt. And also, what, and I've agreed with a lot of other things I've seen about this belt today, is a lot of people saying that it just, whoever wins that is going to be like a B champion.
Yeah, 100%.
You're not the best, you're the second best. Oh, great.
Yeah, you're just a champion that we can have while Roman's not going to be here defending the belts all the time. But then it also sort of begs the question as well, does that now technically mean that there's 3 world championships in WWE?
I don't know. We'll find out on Friday, hopefully. I've just seen Azza hasn't seen it yet. Haven't. I mean, if you're not bothered about watching Raw, just Google it. Azza,
it's not great.
It's something.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
It's not the worst belt design. It's not the worst belt design by far. However, yeah, not great either.
I think what got me when I saw it is just simply the fact that, like you say, if I look at it again, you are quite right. It's not the worst belt design, but it's not the World Heavyweight Championship. It looks, for me, and that's where I can see a lot of sense in what people are saying about whoever wins it is going to be a B champion. It looks more like a mid-card title than a world title.
No, I completely agree. I'm just going to find a picture of my favourite belt, and I'm going to copy it on my phone. Go. I'm going to email it to myself, and then I'm going to send it to you on this. Oh no, I can do it on my phone. Well, I've got Discord on my phone. It's 2023, Jim. Stop being shit.
Hey, Bo, welcome on in.
Hi, Bo. Yeah, so that's in the Discord chat now. That's my favourite belt design.
And I think I've just found my new phone background.
Funnily enough, you won't be the first person. One of the guys at work, I sent it to one of the lads at work when I won it. And he said he changed it to his phone background straight away.
That is brilliant, but there's got to be a story behind this. This isn't a random picture.
No. So the idea was we had this originally. Let me get the original. Right. So the original championship belt for our pool tournaments at my old job, we created out of cardboard and a bit of scrap carpet. Up there.
I like it.
Yeah. It's got all the different companies associated with our company on it. We retired that belt when we got our boss, and one of the very cool things he did was he bought us a replica of the Attitude Era WWE Championship belt. So we retired this belt, and because I was the inaugural champion, I got to keep it. So we got this proper WWE Championship belt, and then the idea was every time someone won the belt, they had to take a not so much a raunchy photo, but a posy photo with it. And one of the guys had one of him in his back garden, naked, with his back to the camera, with the belt just slung over his shoulder, and like his arm kind of like almost like a teapot, just like looking out into the morning sun and stuff like that with the belt. And we all started doing shit like that. And then when I won it, that was the picture I took. Feel free to put it on the stream. Do
you know what? If you're happy with that, I've got to, because this picture is amazing. So it looks like a 1980s porno picture. It's like,
well,
like you were the champion in the early Attitude days, and then did a photo shoot or something like that. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I love the hardcore title, Plaza. It was there it is.
See, I like the way that this is laid out now, because it's like he's looking at the picture himself in awe. Your head looks photoshopped onto your body.
I oiled my chest as well for that picture.
Oh, this gets better and better.
And when I went in, I can't remember how long I kept the belt for. And then and when I lost it, I gave it back over. And I And I said to one of the lads, I was like, "You're gonna have to sniff that." Anyway, oh, please tell me you washed it. And I'm like, no, my ball sweat is smeared on the back of that belt.
Oh, that's brilliant. I like how we've just ran down the entire WrestleMania card, and the best wrestling reaction is a picture of you with a belt covering your crotch and fuck all else.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Right. I am going to have the question. I have to ask the question though. Who takes that belt at Night of Champions?
I mean, Seth Rollins is number one pick for me. And then you put him straight in a feud with Shinsuke Nakamura. Because I think that'd be fresh. That'd be something new for them. That'd be a lot of fun. Speaking of Shinsuke, I mean, Bobby Lashley didn't get a match at Mania. Why couldn't they do a segment where Bobby Lashley comes out moaning that he ain't got a match and he issues an open challenge and then just bring Shinsuke back for that? He came back like 2 weeks after Mania anyway, so he was obviously fit and available. So that would have been a great way to bring him back. Instead, they pre-announced his return, which ruins the surprise. But yeah, I'd give. I mean, I really don't want him to give it to Cody because that kills everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, give it to Rollins. Throw him straight in a feud with Shinsuke. That can go on for a few months. That'll be fun.
Well, I think the good side as well, if they give it to Rollins, is it gives a gives a bit of legitimacy to the title as well. It's got to go on somebody that is already at the top of the card. Otherwise, if they put it on someone that they're just trying to elevate, it's just going to give more reason for everybody to see it as a B champion, as a mid-card title.
Grimmer's Randy Orton return, absolutely. I'd take Orton back now. Like, where is he? Where is Randy Orton?
I'm saying Cody wins the new one, and then Jay dethrones Reigns. Get out. Just simply get out.
I can see the story logic behind that, but then where does that leave the Usos? Like, I feel it cheapens Cody Rhodes' story if they just give him that at Clash. His story is supposed to end with him beating Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
They made their promos back and forth leading up to Mania. They made them too personal. And he even said the night after he had him and Solo in the ring, and he was like, I basically was fighting against both of you anyway. So there's that little nugget there that's Roman hasn't beaten him one-on-one. So I feel like Cody Rhodes has to beat Roman. Like, don't get me wrong, like, it'd be great to see him with a belt, but I don't want him to have that one. I want him to have the belt, the top one. I want him to dethrone Reigns. I want him to slay the monster at the top. But I feel like, anyone you put that belt on, that belt's always going to feel like second best. So unless you have Cody beat Reigns and then he turns it into one title, and you go from there, and then you've got two titles back rather than three, and then they're both as legitimate as each other.
It's certainly going to be interesting.
The WWE way, it is.
But yeah, and that's what's making me worried now. But in the same breath, I can't imagine Cody agreeing to that. I think you are quite right there, Jim, in the fact that he's come back for one purpose and one purpose only, which is the WWE title. I think if they offer him an alternative at this point, then I think he'll just do what he did last time, and I think he'll refuse it and he'll walk away. But it is also one of those that you can certainly imagine WWE asking him the question anyway. I just don't think he'll take it. I really don't. But
yeah,
I didn't imagine him walking out of WrestleMania without the belts either. So
yeah, especially with everything, his entrance, most pyro ever used in an entrance, apparently. The fact that he had that weight belt and he had all the names of the promotions he's ever featured in written on it. He had the names of everyone that's ever meant something in the business to him written on it, and he handed it to John Huber's family, his son, and it was so meaningful, and it was just a fairy tale. And then, yeah, Vince McMahon. I'm not saying it was Vince McMahon. It probably wasn't, but it felt like a Vince McMahon move.
It stank of a Vince McMahon move. We have just had a question in the chat, though. I like this one. Question for you both. Who would win in a wrestling match between Chris Redfield and Leon Kennedy? I mean, Chris has punched boulders, so I kind of feel like he's got a little bit of advantage there.
Yeah, I feel... Do you know what? I feel like Chris would go into it as the heel, though. Purely based on his actions at the start of Resident Evil 7 would make me think Chris would cheat. Yeah. So if Chris is going to win, it's via cheating.
To be fair, though, if you play through Resident Evil 4 original, shoot one of the enemies in the leg, and you can deliver a picture-perfect suplex. You could have Leon get trained by Brock Lesnar and take Chris to
German
suplex.
Das good. It's a match Bo would love to see. They should do it in Speedos in a swimming pool. Well, not a swimming pool, a paddling pool full of oil. Oh, would you like that? Oil wrestling match between the two of them.
Or the
Speedos.
The alternative could be
Melted chocolate. Ooh.
Alternative could be I'll cosplay one of them, Jim can cosplay the other. Let's get it on. Oh, what's he going to get in now?
I've got my little tag vest. I'll bang that on. I'll wear my tack vest and some black trunks.
It'd be a match for the ages. Right. I'm going to start to wrap things up a little bit. But Jim, I just want to say, again, a massive thank you for agreeing to come on. Well, technically speaking, this will be a third time, actually. Because you came on...
Could be.
Well, yeah, cause we did the episode back in February, but you came on for the 24-hour in December as well, didn't you?
Did, yes.
He's getting to be a regular occurrence.
Patrick. 3-time!
He's in a Booker T as being channeled.
I've got some exciting news to share with you, Liam.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday, where I work now, next door is a second-hand shop. It's not Cash Converters, it's the cheap knockoff version called Cash Creators. And for a very, very lowly sum, I got myself a nice little PlayStation 2.
Oh, look at
that. I got the essentials. I got a little memory card for that. I made sure I got a HDMI converter to go with it. And coming soon to a stream near me.
Does this mean we're going to see JustJimCredible on Code Veronica from original hardware?
Yes.
This is porn. I don't know what the ultimate end goal of Twitch is, but Jim just completed it right there. You're going to have to let me know when that stream is taking place. I have to be there for that.
And let me tell you something else, right? This is going to blow your mind, and it surprises me when I realised it. I didn't have a Dreamcast. My mate did, and I'd watch him play it. I've never played it. I've watched it be played. I've watched streams of it. I know the full concept of the story. I don't know the run at all, but I've never physically played the game myself. So this is going to be massive for me.
Oh, dude, you're in for a treat. You are
I'll
really
tell you
in for
what,
a
I have
treat.
got for it as well. Hang on. Oh shit!
Oh, mate, you're killing me. You're killing me.
I got this from a second-hand shop down the road from where I work. Lovely, weird little Scottish guy that runs it. £6.
Yeah?
Yeah, £6.
Do you know what? I genuinely can't remember the last time I actually saw a physical copy of Outbreak. I didn't think they even existed anymore.
Well, yeah. I'm going in. I go in like all cash converters don't do anything lower than PS2 anymore. So there's no chance looking for a PS1 game in there in my local one anyway. What's the other one? CEX. They charge astronomical prices. PS1 games especially. They've got Resident Evil 2 in there, £35.
I can believe it.
They had Dino Crisis in there, £38. And that's PS1 game. And I get the collector's items, so CEX probably know that. So yeah, I like going in the little poxy charity shops and secondhand shops that aren't big companies. So they probably don't know what they have. So for me, it's brilliant. Like I can just nip in there whenever I've got 5 minutes, and I'm on first name terms with the guy in the one next to me. And I'm always sticking my head in there every day. Dave, anything new? And he knows what I'm after. He knows I'm after PS2 and PS1 games. And yeah, it's brilliant. I had something else that I got from there. And I've got no plans to play it because I've got nothing to play it on. But it's a Mega Drive game. But it's 3 games in one. And it's Revenge of Shinobi, Golden Axe, and Streets of Rage.
I think I vaguely remember having that as a kid.
Right. How much was that? £3.
Wow.
No, I haven't looked online, so I don't know what it goes for, but I feel like it goes for more than £3 because Golden Axe and Streets of Rage are like 2 all-time classics. Revenge of Shinobi, I don't remember playing, but I am aware it existed. And I remember playing Streets of Rage and Golden Axe at my cousin's house and absolutely loving the shit out of them. So yeah, I'm curious to see what that goes for on eBay. But yeah,
I'd
that's my new little hobby now.
I'd be surprised if it's going for anything less than £20. Very surprised, actually. Yeah, but
we'll see. We'll see.
But that Code Veronica stream, I don't care if that's during the day when I'm in work. I will book the day off for that.
I don't know when it'll be. I need to test it all out. I've got my capture card somewhere in here as well, so I need to get all that out and make sure it all works and everything. And I'm right. Am I right in remembering? I feel like I am that I can play PS1 games on the PS2. You can, can't you?
Yeah.
It was PS4 and above that you couldn't that weren't backwards compatible, I think.
So the PS3 wasn't entirely backwards compatible either. You had the 60 gig model that was capable of playing PlayStation 2 games, but none of the other models were capable of playing them from disc.
Right.
And the PS4,
I feel like PS4 was when they changed to Blu-ray.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's any, in terms of original discs, I don't know if there's any backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4 at all. I'd have to check.
No, I don't think there was. I think it stopped at 3. Because PS4 was, it was all Blu-ray after that.
Yeah, and that's what confused me with the PS3 though, because apart from the 60 gig model, you couldn't play PS2 games, but you could play PS1, and I've always been confused by that.
Well, I bet they didn't even realise that, and then they realised it afterwards, and someone in the warehouse or the factory or whatever just feels like a fucking idiot because
Very possibly.
Yeah, I know on the PS3 you could have digital copies of PS1 and PS2 games on there. because the PlayStation back catalogue you used to be able to get on the PS Store, didn't you? And it was pretty much unlimited. You could get everything that was ever out. And then they decided they wanted money more than anything else. So yeah, everything then suddenly became excruciatingly expensive.
Yeah, because I remember on the PlayStation 3, I had, in fact, it's only sat over there. I could probably boot it up, but I've probably got about 25 PlayStation 1 classics on my PlayStation 3. Obviously the Resident Evils, because it had to happen. A couple of Final Fantasies, I think I've got 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And then the proper old school classics, the likes of Tekken 2, Theme Hospital, Theme Park, one or two others on there as well. I'd have to go through them and have a look now, because I can't even remember the last time I booted it up.
I've got a PlayStation Mini that's got an emulator built into it, and I've just got like 3 little USB sticks, and there's like 100 games on each stick, and it's good. It's got some classics on there, but it's not reliable. It dies all the time.
Yeah,
I think there's a fault. There's a fault with the power pack on it, and it just cuts out and crashes a lot, which is a shame. But yeah, what I did have as well that I've got was the original PS1 demo of Resident Evil 2. That you got with I think it was the PlayStation Plus magazine or the official PlayStation magazine.
Yeah.
I had all of that. I gave that to Matt RPD at Insomnia as like a little gift. Because I knew he'd fucking jizz on that. So yeah. I got it. And I thought I know exactly where that's going.
Knowing Matt, I bet he didn't even wait until he got home from Insomnia. I bet he was this on the Saturday or the Sunday that you gave him this?
I think it was on the Friday because I only had a ticket for the Saturday, and I got there earlier than expected on the Friday, and everyone was already in. Everyone else had a weekend ticket. So I went to the arena anyway and managed to blag my way in. Like I said to the guy on the booth, I was like, look, mate, I said, there's only 3 hours left. I said, all my mates are in there. I ain't got a ticket till tomorrow. I says, is there any chance I can like pay for half a ticket? And he was like, oh, no, you have to buy a full one. I went, oh, right, how much is a full one? And he was like, oh, it's £28 if you do it online or $34 if you pay here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I got my phone. I was like, can you show me what website I need to go on and stuff? And he went, and in the end, he just got fed up with me and went, yeah, mate, just give your hand. And he just stamped my hand and said, go on, get your in there. So I went in with them lot, and then I was getting a lift back to my digs, but then onto theirs because there was all going for a curry. And so I said, I'll just stop on at mine and let me run in and grab something. And I grabbed it there, and I just give him it while he was in the back of his brother's car. And I heard some noise, so I assume he enjoyed it in the back of the car.
Liam McKnight were 110% a foot the disco. You absolute knobhead. Because that's what I was about to say Matt did that weekend. You absolute bellend.
He put it on his willy and spun it.
He basically, he lay in bed pretending that his penis was the disc holder. Because from what I believe, it's actually like the size that, you could get away with doing that. And then span it around. I bet he even like lay in bed and made the original PlayStation loading noise as well. Matt, if you're watching, I'm not even sorry. Right. Well, in that case, on that note, should I say, after talks of me shagging CDs, I think that's probably a good time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Pun definitely intended.
2 hours, mate. 2 hours. Fuck.
Jesus. Wow, do you know what? I'm not going to lie. It doesn't even feel like an hour.
No.
Right, but again, Jim, thank you very much for agreeing to come on again. It's been
my pleasure.
It's been a blast, as always, my dude. Definitely let me know when you're doing that Code Veronica stream. And do you know what? If you're going to start doing the older games from original hardware, you're going to have to let me know so that I can be there and watch them. Because I love shit like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait. Now I've got the PS2. I've got a platform then for PS1 games and PS2 games. So I am gonna start eBaying a lot more, and it's in the charity shops regular. I'm just gonna start buying anything I think I can find. So I'll go speak to Dave tomorrow and be like, right, open the cabinets, Dave. I'm going in. But yeah, thank you, Bo.
Well, definitely keep me updated with anything like that you find.
Yeah, mate. It'll be on the Twitter and the Instagrams. You'll see it.
Happy days. Right, I'm sure I'll speak to you again soon, my dude.
You will, sir. You will.
All right, take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Just Jim Credible. Do you know what? I've got all the time in the world for Jim. I've known Jim for a hell of a long time now. I couldn't even tell you exactly how long. Or who I met him through either. To be fair, he just seems like one of those guys that I've just known forever. Gay! Mate, we were talking about getting in our Y-fronts and putting on a cosplay wrestling match. I think we kind of hit that nail right there. Right, guys. I'm actually off work tomorrow. My original plan was I was going to do the podcast, do the giveaway, and then raid out. But do you know what I think? I might do the giveaway, and then I might stream something, I might play something.